Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. I'm Tim Harris. Thank you for stopping by. Today, we have a certified lunatic, a good friend of mine, Robert Vazquez.
What's up, man? How are you today?
Dude, I'm doing great. So you are episode number 7 of the Boardroom family today.
Awesome.
So this is going to be an 8-week rollout, starting with Kent and not ending with you, because they say save the best for last.
What the hell does that mean?
And so this is it's like an 8-week kind of thing, because I love to do these in person.
Okay.
And it's hard to schedule time around my travel in the studio and when a guy like you is going to be in Dallas.
Correct.
And so like when I started thinking about it, and the owner of our studio in Dallas owns this location, he said, I have one in Austin. I said, oh my gosh. I mean, like, get these big hitters like to just come in a little early and knock 8 out. So you're gonna be number 7 of 8 from the Boardroom in Austin, Texas. If you're watching the YouTube, as you hear me say, you get the beautiful Capitol building behind us, which is
the Governor's Building.
No, the 1/8 the side.
Oh, apparently what I've discovered here, all right, on my vast experience in Texas here, is that the Capitol building is an exact replica. I have not fact-checked this. It's an exact replica of our Capitol building, except it's 1/8 the size.
1/8 the size. That's the governor's mansion. So, Robert, I appreciate you being here. Why don't you just take a minute, and I mean a minute, and tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
That's a lot. That's a lot to kind of sum up here in a minute.
Yeah, 50 seconds.
Honestly, the reality is I am just a hard worker. That's the simplest answer that I could possibly ever give anyone. I just want to be better today than I was yesterday. I don't want to be better than anyone. I just want to be better than I was yesterday. I am a first-generation American. I'm the first person in my family to go to the military. I'm the first person in my family to go to college, which I dropped out of, to be fair. But I went. You know, it was pretty cool in there. I realized that I'd rather be an entrepreneur. And I realized also, you know, reading and educating, self-educating, that, you know, I'd rather hire someone from Harvard than actually go to Harvard. Now, there's certain personal goals that I would like to, you know, achieve with respect to, like, let's say, obtaining my law degree. It's because I'm passionate about law. And I'm also very litigious. I realize, you know, because the reality is when you're a small guy, you get pushed around and you have a couple bucks in your bank and you're having to go through the process of, you know what, I don't want to be pushed around anymore. You know, it's like, look, I've got to file the eviction. I've got to foreclose on somebody if I give them a mortgage. So it's not an issue of trying to like hurt somebody. It's an issue of trying to protect yourself, protect your entity. And then you realize that the law is a tool in business. It's not something that, oh my God, I did something wrong. Right. So I want to do it just for my own personal, you know, as a personal checkbox that I want.
We're also a pilot.
Yes. That's just a personal fun thing as well.
I know. I was just trying to help you move on past the law part. This is your minute's up.
Who cares about the minute? Listen, dude, I love flying. I want to fly myself to my other offices. That's my goal.
Right.
Which is also a write-off.
Yeah, it's just fun too. Like
it really is fun.
View. I mean, like,
come on, man. You know, the reality, someone said, well, why don't you just get a jet? Look, dude, first of all, I want a jet. We all want jets, right? To be fair. But I also want the ability to be able to pick up and say, hey, friends and family, let's jump on the plane, let's go to the Bahamas, let's go to the Apicos, let's go wherever we want and do that. And the reality is, if I hit the right button, autopilot, I can sit back and check my emails and still work, you know, check in the airspace or whatnot, but I can be very, very efficient in the air as well.
Yeah.
So that's one of the passions that I wanted to do. And real estate has afforded me the opportunity to do that. And
I love watching.
I really appreciate.
I love watching that part of your growth and some of those pictures you take over Florida in the morning, like for the sunrise or whatever. It's just. I wake up to it, and my son, as you know, is training to be a pilot, and it's just. I'll text him some of your pictures, and I'm like, dude, I'm just so jealous of the office view you're gonna have. Like, not that I really want an office or a view. Like, I'm good, but it's still cool.
So I live in Orlando now, and when you go through the Disney parks, which I don't like going to, right? Why would I pay all this extra money to spend 6 hours in line for a ride? I don't think so. I'm over it. But one of the coolest rides was discovering how Disney traveled to Florida and how he would take his private plane and would fly around Florida to spot properties. It's how he identified the property for where the Disney property is in Florida. And to me, that just instantly intrigued me going, shit, this is pretty cool. So when I'm now flying around and I get to see where development's kind of happening, where they're starting to, you know, it gives me an I have a little bit more of a competitive edge where I'm able to fly around and say, this is a really cool area. I can see development happening over here, and this is not that far away. This is probably an area I need to look into. So that to me is huge.
And take that, IRS. It really is a write-off.
100%. 100%. So we have, have you interviewed?
It's part of his real estate company, and we just proved it.
Exactly. No, taken. Send me this content.
So we're going to go straight to the first segment. It's the bottom line up front, right? So as you know, I'm a Marine, the real part of the military.
The Army? Gotcha. Yeah, Army.
And we used to brief generals, and they would always say, like, give them the bottom line up front, because dude may have to get up and leave, right?
Right.
We may take mortar rounds, like whatever.
Right.
So what I like to do is take 2 minutes here at the beginning. I want you to just share with the audience maybe the things that you're focused on, the things that you think are important in the market, things people should be avoiding or doing or paying attention to, just kind of like a clip notes of what we'll talk about for the next half hour or so. Good to go?
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Personally, I think that everyone should be focusing on new construction. Okay, right now we have a national housing deficit. We've been talking about this for years. Tim, you know that we've been talking about this for years. Since the last crash, we've had a historic shortage of housing, right? Historically speaking, we used to build 10 to 12 million homes per year. As a result of the last market crash, we've been building around 4 to 6, maybe 4 to 7 million homes per year, which has left a massive deficit. Previous pre-recession, we had a surplus of homes. Since the market has crashed and we had skilled labor leave the workforce, and we've had, the market kind of stalled for several years, the inventory has dried up. With that said, right now poses the greatest opportunity in history to be able to pretty much take advantage of that. And what I mean by that is if you have the ability to build. And there's a lot of people that are watching this and they go, well, I'm not a builder and I don't know how to build. The reality is TOTB, guys. I say this all the time. This is the way I live. TOTB is think outside the box. There's many, many builders in your given market right now that need money, that need capital, that need someone like you right now, if you're a real estate investor, to say, hey, listen, I can get the financing, okay? I can get the resources to be able to build. I just need to partner with a builder. Now, fortunately, I'm a builder, but the reality is, you right now watching this, if you think outside the box, you can create partnerships and relationships, and you can create a solution to the housing deficit in your given market, okay? So to me, that's something that's very, very important. That's something I'm very passionate about. So we have a national housing deficit. Why not create the solution, and why not compete? Look, I don't like competition. I believe in the concept of collaboration over competition, or more importantly, crusher competition. If everyone's focusing, if 9 out of 10 people are over here focusing on buying existing inventory, you have all these vacant lots over here. Think outside the box, guys. Purchase a lot, partner with somebody. If you don't know how, reach out. There's many different ways to doing that. The way I just mentioned, partner with a builder. He is the technical, right? You are the tactical. There's a big difference between technical and tactical input, all right? So if you're able to come with a strategy and they have the technical know-how on how to do something, now you just created a beautiful marriage, all right? And you were able to solve a problem. Now, as Tim has mentioned many, many times, and I totally agree with him, we, as the United States of America, is about 50 years behind the UK. We are becoming a nation of renters. How many people, and you don't have to answer this, guys, watching this, how many people cannot afford a home right now because interest rates are higher than they previously were? The cost of housing is higher. Why? We have a significant deficit of housing. It's only going to get worse. So is it the right time to sell? I don't want to sell anything, right? If you're able to acquire homes and keep them, even given a higher interest rate climate, keep them, because I assure you over the next 50 years, you're going to kick yourself in the ass for selling anything you've ever had. The biggest advice I've ever gotten, or the biggest input I've ever gotten from anybody who's been in real estate longer than me, is they kick themselves in the ass, not for the properties they bought necessarily. They kick themselves in the ass for the properties they sold. Now, I can assure you, looking at my 20-year career, I look back at the properties that I sold and I go, man, if I would have kept those now, I would have had tens of millions of dollars more in my portfolio just by natural appreciation, okay? Just the appreciation of the assets that I sold. Aside from the added benefits of tax depreciation, right? Aside from equity that's being built, which is the appreciation with the principal balance pay down, meaning that the tenants are paying my balance down, I kick myself in the ass for selling. So does that mean you should go out and build a rental portfolio? Sure, if you can, absolutely do it. Or would it be wise, would it be prudent to be able to maybe build a rental portfolio? There's a difference between building a rental portfolio and that you're building the acquisition of existing inventory, or you can build a new portfolio. What's the benefits of that? Let's see, less CapEx, right? You're putting less capital expenditures into a property. Why? New roof. Hello, ding dong. We have a brand new air conditioning system. What's the likelihood of that air conditioning system breaking down in the next 2 or 3 or 4 years? And if it does it have a warranty by the manufacturer? Yes, it does. I assure you that right now, the rental market, the way I look at the market in whole and the way that major institutional investors are looking at the residential markets place right now, you have class A, B, C, and D, right? If you look at multifamily assets, the way I look at it with respect to residential portfolios is that over the next 10, 15, or 20 years, subdivisions, purpose-built SFR build-to-rent communities, and even infill communities, infill build-to-rent properties, they're going to be classified as Class A, B, C, and D. So if you have a Starwood or a Blackstone or, their subsidiaries or whatnot, and they're acquiring brand new properties over the next 5, 10, or 15 years as they keep upgrading to newer subdivisions, that Class A will become Class B, that B will become a C, and so on and so forth. So that's going to create opportunities the same way that it does in multifamily communities, that it does in purpose-built SFR communities or purpose-built infill portfolios. So my advice to everyone watching, TOTB. Always TOTB. Think outside the box. If you think outside the box, you can think yourself into a partnership.
Just last week, a local home builder called my acquisitions company and said, I've got 9 houses that are complete that I need to sell. And the kid that worked for me, he got fired on Friday, sent me an email like, this builder wants to sell you houses. Sounded weird. Builder sent me an email, and they're good deals. Like, we're talking about 2,000 square foot houses, 4-bedroom homes, single story in a nice community, not all on one block, like one per block all around.
Okay.
And they're looking at a 20-25% discount.
Why?
The interest rates spiked, and they probably have less than advantageous underlying financing on their builder line.
Okay.
And so it was interesting. You're talking about the shortage, and I just find it, I love new construction. I love, especially as an operator, why not have something that you don't have to, like you said, replace the roof, rewire. You don't have residual foundation problems in Texas like we do. So what are you doing with new construction in Florida now?
I have a dual strategy approach. One of which is I don't want to sell anything. There are certain homes that, based on my investment strategy, I am building to sell, but that's only to capitalize or to fund my future investments, right? So the goal of everything I am building now is to keep. Now, personally speaking, if your acquisition agent were to receive a call like that, number one, that to me represents a potential partnership, right? That investor, that builder rather, is looking for liquidity.
Right.
That investor is looking for an exit strategy. That to me is a great opportunity to say, hey man, let's create a partnership with that builder. Let's not fire sell these, because if you are making a profit, how can you make a greater profit, or how can we make more money together? So to me, that's an opportunity in disguise. That's number one. Number two, I would have locked up those assets, and I would have called a larger institutional investor that's locking up these type of assets, and I would have flipped them to him on a cap rate perspective, not on an ARV perspective.
Yeah.
Right. Because you have, what you said, 9? Yeah. I would have grouped those up together at 9 and created like an offering memorandum and said, hey, listen, based on this, I'll sell you these homes at, I don't know, a 5.25, 6, whatever the given cap rate is for that space, which is compressing, right? Because that's a very desirable asset class. Right. So personally, I would have locked that asset up, and I would have made a huge return on that personally.
I already locked it up. I'm just going to keep it.
Oh, there you go. They keep it at 25% discount. Yeah. You can literally almost refinance the properties and be into it for almost nothing.
Well, I was talking to our friend in the boardroom, Brandon Bajcik, Dwight's partner, and because they're raising a lot of capital, and I was like, hey, dude, check this out. I got these. I said, after these 5, the builder says if these work out, he's got other communities in DFW, and they may be interested in selling us some more at cost, and even before I called one of the funds, I was like, y'all want to scale this with me, right? We go raise a couple million. And he was like, dude, let's do it.
Right.
And so it's kind of funny you brought up the partnership, because that's the first route I went is, tell you what, I'll take these 5 instead of all 9. I won't report them in MLS, so it won't hurt your sales comps, on your leftovers. And I'll do 1 per block. That way there's not a concentration of rental property in the neighborhood. And the guy was like, man, I like the way you think. And before you know it, we're talking about his other 6 communities and doing the same thing 6 more times.
There would have been an opportunity to potentially lock up the rest of the other 4 homes and maybe just create an innovation and just list them on the market and be able to capitalize on that.
I already listed, and I don't want the 2 stories.
Okay, I gotcha. So what's it going to be the next round? I mean, you already have this relationship with this guy. He likes the way you think.
They want me to close.
Want to close?
Well,
But you're Tim, man. Hurry up.
We got the contracts written on Monday. They'll close next week.
There you go.
Busy in Austin right now.
I hear you. I
mean,
so
you were late.
I was actually early. I was in the.
Oh, you were late to being early.
First of all, I was here 34 minutes early, precisely, after getting a tour of the city. All right, I was Army, guys. I always show up early. Early is on time. On time is late. Always remember that. So,
a side note, Uncontested Investing is presented by REI Inc. Magazine and sponsored by RCN Capital. The publisher of REI Inc. Magazine is a guy named Bob Rakowski. We love you, Bob. He listens to every episode. He's a daggum Army guy, too. So
there you go.
Anyway.
A show run by the Army. Like we run everything. Thank you, Army guys. I appreciate it. Thank you, Bob.
As long as it's not the Korean War where you need to be rescued.
Let's not talk about how many times the Army has rescued the Marines, all right?
We could go all day. All right, so, dude, I appreciate you being here. Let's talk a little bit about what you're hearing in the marketplace. I know you're like me, just an information siphon, right? Like, what are you hearing in the marketplace? How are you feeling about, I don't know if you looked at the Fed minutes from today. How are you feeling about the marketplace in general right now?
Cautiously optimistic, but cautious is the important word. I've been following this gentleman who's been posting about Burry. Burry, the gentleman who put the $1.6 billion put against the housing market. And, everyone doubted this gentleman until he won. I haven't fact-checked this, but apparently he put a $1.6 billion put against the stock market. He believes the stock market's going to crash. If that crashes, inherently everything else, shit's going to roll downhill, so to say, right? So how is that going to impact the housing market? I believe obviously there's going to be a lull in the market. If that does occur, naturally, as an investor, you have to be prudent and you have to be conscious of what's going on. Depending on where your source of capital is, you're going to have to maybe pull back the range, which is going to affect us potentially, meaning real estate investors, and our ability to source capital to secure, good cost of capital. That's going to impact the marketplace for whatever the unforeseen amount of time is. So that's something that does concern me, right? Because if the market does dip, or rather crash, a $1.6 billion hedge against the stock market, that's big. That's a big deal in my opinion. Now, small relative to the size of the global markets, but that's still a big deal, right?
They probably made 10% today.
Probably made 10%. But if you're making an investment like that, look, I'd rather err on the side of caution now than be bullish. Now, I'm a bullish individual. You know that.
But I'm a bull in a china closet. Yeah, I got you.
More of a, yeah, exactly. I mean, I tear some shit up. But I still like to learn as much as I possibly can, and I take data the way you do, and you process it, and some people process it, and they make executed decisions that work well, wildly well, and other people make decisions that, sometimes creates a setback. The reality is you only lose if you give up, right? Taking losses is part of investments. Fortunately, I've never taken a major loss. I've never taken a loss. There's certain things that I can consider losses, like selling investment properties at a discount. Will I take a loss in the future? Possibly, right? That's not something I want to think about. The reality is what can I do to always ensure that my investments are protected, and I do have like exit strategies in place. Like, for example, my new construction, my fail-safe is the government, Section 8. I always underwrite my new construction properties in a manner in which the debt service will be covered by the minimum amount that the government will allow in an allocated area for Section 8. So, for example, in Austin, Texas, a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home, Section 8 may provide, the Section 8 voucher program. A lot of people
probably $2,000 a month.
Yeah, probably $2,000 a month. So if I can underwrite my deal, and that deal would say that my debt service would be, let's say, $1,850 all in, well, I can make an extra, $150, $200 a month, whatever the number is, right? So it's not a wild return. It's not something that's worth, retiring.
But you know that money's going to be there.
I know the money's going to be there. And obviously, what's the first rule of investing? Don't lose your money. What's the second rule of investing? Don't forget rule number 1. So as long as I know that money is secured, my money is secured, my investor's money is secured, that's all I care about. So look, even if I break even on an investment, but we're not losing, we understand that you saw the added benefits of depreciation, which is something a lot of investors really just don't focus on. Oh, that's extra. Dude, depending on your income bracket, that's a major, major benefit. I have investors that give me a call and say, listen, I'll invest in you or I'll invest in your fund only if I can get you the depreciation. I don't even care about the return. Think about that. There's levels to literally everything in life, right? Can you imagine somebody saying, listen, I don't care about the return. I care about not paying taxes. That's a huge, huge, just eye-opening kind of experience. Because when you go, at least for me, when I started off in the investment space, I needed to sell properties at a profit to make a living. And then as I started dealing with landlord investors, I started realizing there's a whole other spectrum of investors. When for example, I'll never forget this. I needed the money at the time. I needed the money so bad. The market crashed. It was the first wholesale property I've ever done because I was doing short sales. I was doing everything I could to make money.
Stop right there. We're going to tell that story right after a quick break.
All right, cool.
Stick around. We'll be right back. At RCN Capital, we know that time is money. With our competitive rates and quick turnaround time, you can receive funding in as little as 10 days. We offer flexible payment plans to relieve the pressure of repayment process. Our team is experienced in making sure that you choose a loan that will suit you best. Get on the phone with the loan officer today by emailing info@rcncapital.com or clicking the link in our bio. Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. Tim Harriott here with Robert Vazquez. First deal you ever wholesaled?
First deal I ever wholesaled, I'll never forget, it was right during the market crash. I never...
When you say market crash, you're not talking about the pandemic, right? Let's date ourselves here.
This was 2008.
2008.
I locked up a property and I needed to sell it. And at the time, the property was, I forgot what the values were. Let's say I sold the property for $60,000. It may have been worth $60,000 pre-recession, pre-housing recession in 2008. The house might have been worth $230,000. So I negotiated the price down. It was a short sale. Pretty much, I negotiated the short sale. I was going to close on the property at the time the bank started instituting the A to B, B to C, right? So I had to it had to be a wet funding, meaning I couldn't use the end buyer's funds to fund the transaction. Long story short, we got creative when we got the deal done. And I sat there. Now, I own a title company. We're in 9 states right now. And I can't stand when people are bothering me, hey, where's my check? Where's my check? We still need to fund the deal, right? We're waiting for the lender's funds. But I'm very patient with people because I've been there where I needed that money, right? And I'll never forget this. I sat there and I waited to get the check. I got the check and I looked across and it was a Canadian investor and a New Zealand realtor. And I said, why did you guys buy this property off of me? Contrary to, why would you ask that question? I already got the check in my hand, but I was curious as to what their strategy was. I go, why would you buy this property from me? Because I was thinking you need to have equity in the property in order to sell the property for a profit. The guy looked at me and goes, what do you mean? So well, you bought the property at full price and then you have to put money into it in order to sell it. And he says, son, do you know what the markets are like in Canada? I said, no, sir, I do not. And he starts explaining to me that the returns are dismal, 1%, the market's, very unstable there as well. So if you can take $100,000 out and buy this property and put money into it and be over market value, the rental income and the rate of return he'd make on a yearly basis would far outweigh and far outpace anything he's given, he would be able to get in Canada. And to me, that was just the aha moment where I go, oh my God, there's a whole other spectrum of investors out here. And there's a lot of people right now that are wholesaling properties that are like, well, this property doesn't have 30 or 40 grand and I can't sell this to another investor. There's another spectrum of investors. There's a whole genre. There's a whole group of investors that are just like, look, man, I care about cash flow. And that's why Kent's family's company and REI Nation and Memphis Investor, whatnot, why they're so wildly successful, right? They're looking at the doctors, the CPAs, the medical professionals, the school teachers, the law enforcement professionals that are looking to supplement their income and looking to replace their earned income once they retire in case there's that gap, right? How do you do that? Through cash flowing assets. So to me, and this may be rudimentary to a lot of people watching this, but when you're going through that investment experience and that journey of learning about real estate, to me, that was the aha moment.
So what got you into real estate after the Army?
I was fortunate enough to get into the mortgage industry. Okay. So when I got out of the Army, I had no idea what I wanted to do at all. I was actually lost, man. I got back from Iraq. I was shot out. My back was messed up. It was a dark period of my life, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I went back to working at a call center, the same call center I left right before I joined the military. And I went through a very, very deep depression because I was like, I was in the top of the world. I remember, what it's like being in the military. I'd wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm sitting there in the dark going, I am awake before the majority of America is. I am the first line of defense. I am the elite. I'm the best. And I'm here to improve my body because, we have to do PT every morning. And that's the thought that I had. And then when I deploy to go overseas and we're training to go to war and you go to combat at a young age, then you return back and you're now back at a cubicle in a call center. It was something that was like, this is not what I signed up for.
Right.
I was all around the world, and here I am back in Fort Lauderdale in a call center. This is not what I want to do in my life. And I started looking for different opportunities, and everyone promised me the world. You can make $1 million a year. I'm like, well, you drive a Corolla. You're the manager of a facility who's selling me on a vision on how I can make $1 million a year, but you drive a Corolla. Nothing wrong with a Corolla, but don't sell me on a vision of me being a millionaire, right? So I bounced around from job to job, and then I went to my first interview at a mortgage company, and I was a jerk. I was like, here we go, another opportunity. Oh, $1 million. And I worked for, I was fortunate enough to get the opportunity to work for a subprime lender because that job changed the entire direction of my life. Working for a subprime lender, which is AmeriQuest Mortgage Company at the time, a high cost lender, but they provided there was a place in the market for that. And I go from making nothing. At the time I was living in my car. I was too proud to ask for help. I was going through divorce, going through separation or whatnot, and I didn't want to ask anyone for help. I was too proud to ask for help. I'm like, hey, if I could sleep in the back of a tank in combat, I can sleep inside of a
Nobody's going to shoot
Mustang.
me. Nobody's going to shoot me in my Mustang.
Exactly. No one's going to shoot me in my Mustang.
Landmines. I mean,
exactly. So I'm like, no problem. I could turn on I got air conditioning in this sucker. I'm good to go. This is a Ritz Carlton at the time.
So you're the first person that's ever told me I was living in my car story as like a positive.
It was
because you're like, hey, it's not a tank.
It's not a tank. I wasn't getting shot at.
Yeah.
And to me that was a positive. But I was fortunate enough to get that opportunity, and that came with some hiccups too. The company was making so much money. Okay, I think at the time in 2003, 2004. I looked this up here recently because Mary Jo, Shelton or whatever that ran the company, I saw her LinkedIn and she said that she brought the company from 1.3 to 3.8 or $4 billion a month in volume. Yeah, largest subprime lender in the country. And my branch manager, who made, I think, a $1.2 million a year base salary plus commissions on the office, it was set. Every branch manager made 1.2. I think the area manager made 2.4, 2.5. The regional managers made like $5 to $6 million plus the overrides. All right. We were 105 lenders. We rev 5 points minimum on every loan. Okay. So we were a high cost lender, but we sold benefit, not rate. We did save people several hundreds of dollars per month. We took these high interest rate or, very debt ridden customers who had a lot of equity, and we did create a benefit for them. That aside, I went from making 20 grand a year in the military to, before I knew it, let's just say we fast forward me not getting paid for 60 days. Right. And that was a whole other story. They never processed my paperwork. They were so busy making money. The area manager saw me. I was starving. I looked skinny, and I was motivated to going, I'm seeing everyone make money. And he found out I wasn't getting paid. He pulled money out of his pocket, and I didn't want to take it, being too proud. And he was an older Cuban guy, and he's like, just, here you go. I go, this is not my money. I want my money. And I was almost crying at the time. I was like, I want my money. I want it. Yeah. And anyway, before I knew it, I'm making 20, 30, 40, 50 grand a month. I'm in my 20s. The quarterly bonus is 75, 80 grand on top of my check for the month. I'm making 100 grand a month. I'm 22 years old. So that changed the entire direction of my life. So I'm like, you know what? I'm realizing I'm making 18 to 26% commissions. I would like to maybe start my own company. And I did that. And I replicated the same process. We created 14 loan officers per office, 2 loan processors at 3 offices. We did $42 million a month in volume. I was the king of the hill. And then the market crashed and I didn't make any investments and I didn't have any financial consultants. I didn't have any mentors. I lived by what I was taught at AmeriQuest. It's, if you want the nice watch, buy it. And if you don't have the money to buy it, you're not closing enough loans. And if you take a doggy tray home, now don't get me wrong, guys, I love my doggy trays. I love when I go to a restaurant, I don't eat it. I want to come home, I want to have the munchies later. You know, I want to eat it, right? But there was the environment that if you were to do that, you were like looked down upon because you weren't closing enough loans. They kind of created that environment, which I loved because it created this alpha kind of instinct that you needed to close to make money. And I'll never forget Ruth Chris, you know, Eddie V's, whatever the case is, whatever your fine dining establishment was, you show up to work and they call them, they go, hey, this is what we want. They go, sir, we don't deliver. Black card on the table, the hell you don't. And matter of fact, I want the manager of that restaurant to deliver my staff the food. So that's the kind of environment that kind of maybe, you know, kind of just changed my perspective on life. And I think there's a lot of people that have not received that benefit of understanding that anything is possible. You know, there's a lot of people that are like just, you know, coming out of the military or working at a grocery store or working at a movie theater, whatever the case is, and they don't understand that the financial markets, mortgages, real estate, you know, insurance, whatever the case is, sales is the industry that literally has no limits. I know many doctors and I make a lot more than the doctors. I don't mean to say that in a bad way or a negative way or in a braggadocious way. It's just facts. And it's only because I've prevailed. And I've only prevailed because I'm too freaking hard-headed that I don't never want to give up. It's the military side of us.
It is. So this is my 8th boardroom event, I believe, 7th or 8th. I remember when I first met you in June of last year, which actually I'll go even on another side. It's amazing how 2 people like us that are so much alike, so accomplished in this industry, have no clue who each other are after 20 years of doing this. Like, that's how big this industry is.
Huge.
And I show up at the boardroom in Denver of 22, and I said something. It was my first time to like really speak up, and I know that then I spoke up like every 5 seconds afterwards. But this guy in the back corner of the room goes, I completely disagree. And here's why. And you just like you go on this like rampage. And I actually agreed with a lot of what you said. Didn't with a lot. But I've noticed over the last 8 events, you're a big sharer. You share a lot, and you're very passionate, not only about your opinions, but about helping people. Where does that come from?
There's something that I like to live by, all right? And anyone watching this, I encourage you guys to take this and put this in your business and your life. Euros. Okay, you know us military guys, we like our acronyms, all right?
I know it wasn't the Euros that like do the Amazon Wi-Fi.
No.
It had to be
Euros. Please take this, all right? Each one, reach one. Each one, reach one. I believe it's our duty that once you have any level of success, if you see somebody worthy, you give them the hand up, not the hand out.
So EORO.
EORO. Each one, reach one. Each one, reach one.
Each one of us should reach someone else and help them up.
Correct. More importantly, if you see someone that is asking you and they're like the forerunner. If I were to go, and I've been through this, and I'm sure you have as well, where I'm on stage and I'm talking, like, first person to stand up gets this book. First person, they jump up. Dude, you took action. This is who I want to do business with, right? I don't want to convince somebody, I don't want to convince somebody that this is the career path for you. The person that is meant to be in your life will be in your life. Manifestation of thought. The same way that person, whoever it is that's watching this, if they're desirous of being successful, they're going to pursue and they're going to be relentless with asking someone for help. Don't be that person, by the way, that says, hey, can I buy you a cup of coffee? I've learned that lesson, right? Successful people don't need your cup of coffee.
My reply is always, I have lunch money.
Yeah, I have lunch money. I'm busy. But at the same token, sometimes I feel a little kind of dickish when I'm like, that was their attempt and maybe they don't know any better.
I want to pick your brain. Same thing.
Yeah, hey, I would like to pick your brain. I'm like, you know that my time is very valuable, right? People pay me for consulting, same as you, because you have to monetize your time.
Right. Because
if not, then you're giving it away for free. And I've done that for 20 years only to see no one take action on the advice that I've given to them. It's exhausting. It's exhausting.
So exhausting.
Dude, you give advice, you give input to people who are like, do X, Y, and Z, and they don't do it. I'm like, you picked my brain for 4 hours and you didn't do shit with it.
So we're going to take a break, but you said Euro, each one, reach one.
Each one, reach.
And I think you were making another point about why you share so much, and then I cut you off.
I think it's our duty to do so. Now again, I share way too much. I share way too much because the reality is some people, you value what you pay for. Now there's certain people that will take action on the advice that I give them, and I love seeing them, some of which are boardroom members today. For example, Joe Prestigiacomo, I love him to death. He's one of my brothers, all right? He is a mentee. He's also a member of the boardroom. He's whipped out a lot of money to be part of this organization, and he's only been able to do so because he worked his ass off. He took action on the advice that I gave him. He bothered me in a positive way, and we done deals together. Our first deal, we did 170 grand together. Our second deal, we did 115 grand. That was enough for him to say, I'm quitting my job and I'm doing this full time, and he's doing that full time.
And it was enough for you to keep taking his phone call.
I'll always take his phone call. He's my brother and I love him to death, All
right. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with the Money Minute. Stick around.
REI Inc. is a monthly business publication for real estate investors, covering all types of real estate investments and strategies. It is the most comprehensive real estate investment publication on the market. All of the articles are written by the top leaders in the industry, so investors are assured of always getting the best information possible. Each month, REI Inc. also profiles the top companies in the industry and provides insights and data into key regional markets. Along with their sister platforms, the REI Referral Network and Highest Invest, real estate investors have exclusive access to off-market investment opportunities and national acquisition and disposition initiatives. To learn more, visit www.rei-inc.com, where you can also access the REI Referral Network. Also, be sure and visit www.highest-and-vest.com to view the latest exclusive off-market assets with near immediate acceptance decisions and closing strategies. You can also email marketing@rei-referralnetwork.com to request more information.
Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. Tim Harridge here with Robert Vazquez. Robert, it is time for the Money Minute. Now, I bet you can't do this in 60 seconds.
He's probably right.
He's not even going to try. All right, so 60 seconds, the best advice that you have, period, end of story, to anyone. Could be an entrepreneur, could be a vet, could be an investor that's struggling. But I want you to imagine that this human being this is the only advice they're going to get all month, is the next 60 seconds.
All right, the best advice I can give anyone, simply put, is this: in 60 seconds, never give up. That's it. You're going to have people in your life without a shadow of a doubt that if you try and you take one step backwards, you're going to say, I told you so. Okay? Those very people, if you never give up, are going to be the same people. I assure you, they're going to look back at you and go, I always believed in you. Okay? Can I have a job? Can I have a loan? I have random people out of nowhere giving me a call saying, hey, Rob, I see how successful you are. Can I borrow some money? No, absolutely not. Here's my biggest advice. I'm going to echo this again. Never give up, guys. Listen, it's okay to fail. It's okay to fail. That's one thing that a lot of people, it's taboo. Oh, I failed. I'm not successful. No, you're not successful if you quit. It is 1,000% okay to fail. Dust yourself off and re-engage. I live by this as well. Relentless forward progression. Relentless forward progression. There's that scene that David Goggin talks about all the time, and I freaking love it, when he's watching that Rocky movie, and Apollo is beating the ever-living hell out of Rocky, and when he thinks he's won, and he's out there like, yeah, I won, and he sees Rocky bloody and beaten, and he gets right back up. He defeated him at that very moment because he stood back up. That's something that I live by, all right? I didn't grow up with a lot of wealth. I didn't grow up with any wealth. I grew up in Section 8. I grew up as, every negative thing that could possibly be put in my face. A high school dropout. I got married at a young age at 16 years old. I had a bunch of kids. I didn't have the opportunity to be successful. Bullshit. We all had the opportunity to be successful. The question is whether or not you're willing to get punched in the face enough. Now, some people aren't willing to do that. And I'm referring to the people that don't have the wherewithal to get into the seat right now. Never give up. That's it.
There's a limit on how long the reel can be. All right, so that's great. And never get up. It's one of those. I can't tell you how many people sit in this chair next to me and they talk about being down and out. I mean, you were talking about living in your car. For me, it was when I was selling life insurance when I first got out of the Corps, and every couple of weeks my cell phone would get disconnected. And I'd be the guy that had to go borrow money from 2 or 3 people and then go to the Sprint PCS store and count the change and go feed the machine in the walk of shame. Everyone knew you were there because your phone's cut off. And that hunger never goes away.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel it all the time, and not in a negative way either. Like, it's what makes me just so grateful every single day. Like, I wake up in a nice, safe, not cheap house, surrounded by my healthy family and my happy dogs. Like, it's like there is nothing bad that can happen to me. It's just because I never gave up.
That's it. People will win and people will prevail so long as they're able to stand one other day. And a lot of, the lights should get shut off. You're welcome. This is part of the journey. This is part of your success journey. This is part of your success tale. And I assure you, 5, 10, 15 years from now, 2 weeks from now, whatever the case is, you're going to be able to share that story with somebody that's going through the same process, the same struggle, and say, listen, I assure you this is part of the journey, okay? I am successful, and I look at every one of my failures as an opportunity and as a building block to be more successful. So when I hear someone say, I can't do this because X, Y, or Z, before I used to argue with them and say, yes, you can do it. Now I just look at them and go, okay, I believe in the concept of whether you believe you're right or whether you believe you're wrong, you're right. Right? So you can't teach hunger. Now you can encourage it. You can say, hey man, don't worry about it. You got it. Because you know what? Michael Jordan's been down before, right? Emmett Smith's been down before. A lot of big, huge athletes have looked down and go, fuck, I don't have anything more.
Well, speaking of athletes, one of the examples I like to use is baseball, right? A guy like Alex Rodriguez made more money than any baseball player in the history of the world. Was only successful at the plate 30% of the time. That means he had a 70% failure rate. Most people get into entrepreneurism for some reason and expect to be perfect.
Yeah.
They want to bat 1,000. And Blackstone said to me when we ran that big company, they said, Tim, we know we can't be right all the time. We don't expect you as the managing director to be right all the time. We expect you to acknowledge your mistakes and stop. Like, just stop, pivot, do something else. And I found that interesting, what you were talking about. It's that, fine, you made a mistake. Cool, stop that, try something else.
Right.
Fine, that didn't work. Cool, stop that, try something else. You tried to bunt on strike 3. That was stupid. Next time, swing. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's just said a different way.
It's a game. It's a game that you can play. Look, the reality is life is a game, right? Now, sometimes the game is not fun. And sometimes the game has a lot of challenges.
It's not for everyone.
It's not for everyone. Well, first of all, we're all living it, so it is for everyone. We are all part of this. Whether you like it or not, we are part of the game. The question is, how do you get on the right side of the track? Right? And there is a lot of great books. There's a lot of great mentors, a lot of great things that can help educate you. The question is whether or not you're going to take action, right? Oh, I don't know what to do. I don't have the money. Dude, you have no idea. I'm very extroverted. Very extroverted.
No.
Yeah, shocker. But when I first started in this, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was nervous because I didn't know. I'm extroverted because I have confidence. I have confidence because I built experience. I have experience because I fucked up, right? It's that cyclical effect. Like, you start kind of going back in time to when I first started. First of all, look at me. I don't look like the chipper guy. I still have that 1,000-mile stare or whatever the case.
That's all a resting a-hole face.
I have that resting.
I do these podcasts. My wife will be like, can you just smile more? I'm like, but I'm serious. And I'm thinking, she's like, yeah, but smile while you're doing it. I'm like,
Yeah, I can't. So people look at me, they'll go, you look so intense. And that's the way I came back from Iraq. I just can't help it. But, I wasn't the most pleasant looking person to be around when you're networking. I'm like, who am I going to talk to? I look crazy. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I remember first dropping into Orlando, not knowing anyone, and then looking up events. I go, I'm going to do this. Then getting in my car and driving my shitty car out there at the time going, my AC's not working. I'm sweating my ass off, and I'm going to go to a nice event or a red carpet event, and I don't know anybody. What am I going to do? What am I going to talk about? The market tanked, and I was trying to figure out, this is right before I get into the debt space and everything else. And like I said, one deal will change the entire trajectory of your life, and that's exactly what happened. One deal I hit, I go, I'm back. And I started learning more and more. I started building confidence. But that experience of being able to walk into these networking events and not knowing what to say or what to do, first of all, congratulations to people that are actually making it to these networking events, right? That's step one. Step two is actually breaking out of your shell, and it's very uncomfortable for a lot of people. But you have to open up your mouth. You have to say, how are you doing? I didn't know how to do it at the time. The easiest thing I can tell people now, based on experiences, ask questions. Don't talk about you. Don't talk about what you can offer them. Ask them questions. Learn about them.
Find out what they need.
But that's later on, man. Like, look, Tim, I want to know more about you. Yeah. You're this loud guy in the room, and everyone's attracted to you. What do you do? And the more you learn about somebody, the more you go, okay, you know what? Now I know somebody that can help me with this thing. So it's not about what can I get, meaning, or what can I offer someone. It's what can I get by potentially providing value to somebody.
It's also not only, we talk about this a lot, it's not who you know, it's who knows you, right?
Correct.
Like, so if I show interest in you as a person, oh, Robert, you said you have kids, like boys, girls, and like if we start talking, next thing you know, you start to remember who I am, because now I'm not just another D-bag walking around seeing if I can raise capital from you, right? Like I'm just
you showed a genuine interest in that person.
I could be your friend.
Right. And I mean, there's a lot of how to win friends and influence people is a game changer. And I'll tell you right now, when I started deploying those strategies, I realized the conversations were different, which is, I'm sure it probably is hard for you too, to keep your mouth shut and just listen to people. But I would ask questions, and now it's become so natural that I walk in, I talk, and I let people talk, and they'll do this, but it's fine, because you know what? At the end of the day, I know everything about everyone in here. And they go, I like Rob. What does he do again? I don't really exactly know what he does,
but I like
him. And then that creates that, that at least the door's open.
No like and trust. And you're very likable. I think you're trustworthy, and you're hard to not know if you're in the right room with this guy. So we're going to wrap up before we make this the longest podcast I've ever recorded.
You're welcome.
You think
running out of film?
Film. If someone wants to connect with you or follow you, where do they find you?
Instagram, Passive Income Cash Flow Kings. You can reach out to me through Countrywide Capital Group. Just Google Countrywide Capital Group. We're really focused on what we're doing. We do a lot within our local community. We don't sell anything, to the public. We're not, my coaching, quote unquote, is something I don't even want to do. This is something we do on a really close one-to-one basis now, one-to-many. That may change in the future, I'm not sure, but, I really care about my passion projects. My passion projects are, I want to improve communities. I want to build houses. If people want to come on that journey with me, we do have our fund. Many people have funds. I just care about doing what I can do to make an impact on my communities, and how I can make my investors a good return, and how I can make a good return. That's it. I'm just focused on me, my investors, the communities, and that's it.
There you go. So this is the part, I almost don't want to ask it, but I do every time, so I'm going to go ahead. Any parting thoughts or parting shots?
Great questions. I hope you have more film. No, absolutely not. Listen, man, I'm very appreciative of being able to be on your podcast and to be able to share with your audience. I love what you do, man. You are very passionate in everything that you do. You're the loudest guy, second to me in the room. And when you walk in there, I go, well, shit, I'm not going to say anything because, you already have a bullhorn. But you provide valuable insight to a lot of people. And I think that a lot of people that are watching your show value the input you have. And I'm just glad I was able to make, some kind of contribution to your group.
Yeah, it's been great, man. And we'll make sure that we edit all of it out. But thank you for being here. That's it, folks. We are out of time. I hope to see you next week with the next episode from the boardroom. Remember, your network is your net worth, and today you've been growing both. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to Uncontested Investing. Questions about today's episode or the podcast? Email podcast@rcncapital.com and make sure to follow REI Inc. magazine on LinkedIn and Facebook, and RCN Capital on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. See you all next time.